So why is it that we love our parents, then we go to hating our parents, and then hopefully eventually we get to a place where we respect them? It's Ryan from the Melbourne Centre of Healing here. Let's start off by talking about sharks. Yep, let's talk about sharks. When a baby shark is born, the first thing that they do after they are birthed is they are swimming off, leaving their mother and looking for some small fish to hunt. They are attack ready and completely independent from the moment they are born. Let's compare that to us humans. When we are born, we are dependent on our parent or caregiver for somewhere in the range of 12 to 18 years. That's quite a discrepancy, right? But there's a reason for that. There's a reason because we need time and we need this dependency for our brains to fully develop. And that's really important because our brains, this prefrontal cortex, is the greatest weapon in our arsenal. It's our greatest asset. And it is what has helped us not only survive the last couple of 100,000 years, but work our way up to the top of the food chain and multiply in exponential numbers. So, during this time of weakness and dependency as we're growing up, we need to see our parents as being completely strong and reliable, and we need to block out any flaws or anything they might have. Because even just thinking, just the thought that they might have a weakness or frailty will fill us with unbearable anxiety, because that's who we depend on to survive. So all we see is that strength and reliability. And that starts to flow on to, other parts of the world as well. Those first friends that we make at kinder, the first school teachers we have, we just see the strength and reliability in them without any of the flaws or negativity. This is what Robert Greene calls a naive perspective, right? I like to think of it like it's a seesaw. And so we've got this seesaw and we've jumped on one end and we're only seeing things from one side without the other. Okay, so it's an unbalanced perspective. Then a time comes along, normally adolescence, and we start to get a glimpse of the less than noble traits of other human beings. We start to notice it maybe at home or outside the home, but then it gets reflected and we start looking at our parents, and all of a sudden we start seeing the negatives, the flaws. And then what happens, this can't help but make us upset and angry, because the image that we had in our mind that we had built up is not matching reality. So now we've got up on the seesaw and we're starting to walk down to the other end. Okay? And now the seesaw's fully tipped. And even though we've gone to the completely opposite perspective, it's still a naive perspective because we're not seeing things as they are. Now all we're seeing from our parents is the flaws, the hypocrisy, all the bullshit, and we block out any of the good. This is that angry teenage years, right? The thing is, we can get stuck in that space. And I've seen people who are over 40 years old still stuck in that place, still with a naive perspective on one side of the seesaw. And this is it can lead to trouble because we are blaming. We are blaming our parents, we're blaming other people in our past, and we're only seeing the negative. So what do? How do we get a balanced perspective? We need to get up off the seesaw, walk backwards a bit, and start to observe the seesaw. And it might balance out. Sometimes it might go up this way, sometimes it might go up that way. What we are doing when we're observing it, we need to practice supreme acceptance. Supreme acceptance is accepting something for what it is. Not trying to change it, not trying to alter it, whether it be a person or a situation. We are completely accepting that person or that situation for what it is or who they are. When we start to practice this complete acceptance and not try and change anything, we can start to observe the human comedy. I love that line, observing the human comedy. Because that's what it is. I mean, if you observe things really, you'll see that this is a whole comedy show and it's bloody hilarious. It can be funny to observe other people. The funniest shit though is when you observe yourself and the own reactions that you have to things. I can be sitting here in the office and then the Wi-Fi goes out, right? And I'm like, fuck this, turn stuff upside down, walk outside, completely angry, out on the stairs, trying to breathe through this anger, and all of a sudden I piss myself laughing because I'm like, what the hell is this? Really, all the stuff we stress about, all the stuff that riles our feathers, it's also inconsequential. And this game that we're playing, this human experience, it really is a comedy. So something we like to do to try and step back from the seesaw and try and see things more balanced is to look back into our past, to the people and the situations, and say, there's a saying that goes, if you could have done better, you would have. And I think that's completely true. If someone could have done better at a certain time, they would have. The thing was, they didn't. They did the best they could with the current consciousness, the current emotional things they were going through, everything in their life. They did the best in that moment. And it may not seem like it, and it may be hard if you look back, and it would be tough. You had a abusive alcoholic mother or father, to look back and go, they did the best they could. If they could have done better, they would have. You might say that and it's like hard to say. You'll say it and have massive resistance coming up inside you. But I'm telling you, this is the way to go. This is how to have that supreme acceptance. This is how to start observing the human experience and not having an unbalanced perspective. Because as soon as we say things should have been a different way than what they are, we remain stuck. There's no chance of change. There's no chance for a happier future. So I encourage you to practice that. Looking back at certain people or situations from your past and saying, if they could have done better, they would have. And trying to work through that resistance and try and get to a place where there's no more resistance. And you can say, shit, if they could have done better, they would have. Bang, let's move on. Let's get on with life. That's all from me today, guys. Have a beautiful day. Peace. Yeah.